You can't win your marriage, joked Simon Sinek at a recent crowd at a Barnes & Noble in Union Square. Yeah, good luck with that. Now this might seem like a strange thing to say, but it's true. Marriage is an infinite game. It's something that we can't win or lose. It doesn't have to be a defined endpoint. And that's true of many games that we play. They are infinite. And problems arise when we approach infinite games with a finite mindset. Now this includes our careers. I'm going to go out on a limb and say we've been playing it all wrong. It's a painful admission, but it's true. We are limiting our success. But fortunately, by the end of this video, you will know what an infinite game is and why it will help you achieve great success in life and your career. So what's this all about? Well, with this finite and infinite business malarkey, you're probably asking what is all going on. Well, quite simply, there are two types of game: finite and infinite. Finite games, by contrast, are played by known and unknown players, have fuzzy rules, no clearly defined win, and players can change the way they play any time. With infinite games, the objective is simple: to play for as long as possible. Diving into it a bit more, finite games are played with the purpose of winning. As the name suggests, it is assumed that there is a finite amount of steps or time frame for this game, at which point somebody wins, and with the rest of the participants lose. It is quite simply a binary outcome. To keep things simple, I would assume that finite games are zero sum. Now what this means is that for every participant that wins or gains, an equivalent amount loses. On the other hand, infinite games are played for a different purpose. Since there isn't a limit to when the game terminates, no party necessarily wins or loses. If one is in a losing position right now, I mean it's subjective, as long as they stay in the game, they have the chance to flip it to a relatively winning position. Since the game doesn't terminate, the main goal is to stay in the game, not zero-sum behaviour like the finite game. Instead, infinite games encourage the idea that a rising tide can lift all boats, and therefore everybody wins. There is no winning in an infinite game like friendship, marriage or business. These are continuous journeys and not just one-off occasions. But how does this all relate to business? Well, business is an infinite game. Why, you ask? Well, because we may not all know the players who are playing the game. I mean, this is competitors, nor do we know what their strategies are to succeed. Also, think about the timeline for a moment. Some businesses focus on quarterly results to evaluate performance, which is great, but there's no end game. You don't report for 4 quarters and then suddenly win. Oh no. Rather, companies may target a particular status, for example, being number 1 in their industry, but this will be based on a metric such as a number of customers served, while another company might use revenue metrics. It sounds obvious, but there is no single metric for winning in business. With the finite game, it ends when the time is up and the players live on. Conversely, in the infinite game, the game lives on while players come and go. This is one of the biggest differences. An example to bring this to life is bankruptcy. To succeed in the infinite game of business, we need to shift focus from thinking about who wins to focus on building resilient organisations that last generations. It is perhaps a good way to look at the leadership associated in business. I mean, a finite-minded leader will work to get something from employees, customers and shareholders to meet targets. Let's just say it's very transactional. Whereas an infinite-minded leader ensures that employees, customers and shareholders continue to contribute to their organisation beyond their tenure. He or she looks beyond what is best for the company and inspires teams to advance towards a vision of the future that benefits everyone. Metrics are only markers of progress towards that vision. It turns out I was operating as an infinite-minded leader before even knowing this was a thing. I'm not sure where it came from, perhaps it was my integrity value showing through, but I've long since held the belief that my role as a leader is merely to leave the business I work for in a better state than when I joined. That's my modus operandi. I'm not the world's most technical leader, but I make up with that with EQ. And building relationships is a particular strength. So I've always focused on connecting with people to work towards a common goal. Whether we ever get there or not is almost secondary. Chances are probably not if a lofty ambition. But bringing people together is to generate that momentum is what I do. So have we been playing by the wrong rules? Is it possible to play finite rules in an infinite game? Short answer, yes. And there are examples all around us. Take, for example, when Apple launched the iPod. What did Microsoft do? They responded by releasing the elegantly designed, feature-rich Zune to try to capture Apple's market share. It seemed like a sensible response. But while Microsoft were obsessed with Apple, Apple, under the infinite-minded Steve Jobs, was not competing with Microsoft. Apple was focused on outdoing itself. So within a year of the Zune's launch, Apple released the iPhone that redefined smartphones and made both the Zune and the iPod virtually obsolete overnight. Infinite mindedness opens novel paths to innovation. So what did Microsoft get wrong? They were competing on a features versus features basis. The iPod could do X, so we will do Y and Z. This is where they showed their hand, using poker parlance. They were playing by defined finite rules. Their own finite rules, but finite rules nonetheless. Instead, Apple were looking forwards. Using a quick analogy, if we take two people walking along the street side by side, Microsoft was solely looking at the person next to them. They were checking out the clothes they wore, the style of walk they had, the image they portrayed. Conversely, Apple were looking forwards. They were focused on where they were going. They didn't even glance to the person next to them, Microsoft, in this example. They only wanted to look to the future. It sounds silly, but is exactly the situation. But this could only be achieved through the infinite and visionary leadership of Steve Jobs. By playing with a finite mindset in the infinite game of business, this will lead to decisions that sabotage the long-term interests of the company. When companies prioritize competition and winning, their corporate strategy, product strategy, and incentive structures will be designed to meet their finite goals. This pushes the entire company to focus excessively on the urgent at the cost of the important. A finite-minded focus on near-term numbers can lead to problematic strategies like reducing research and development, investment, extreme cost-cutting, layoffs, etc., etc., etc. These can be disastrous for the company culture and lead to insecurity, excessive caution, aggressive tactics, and a survival mentality. But what about our careers? Well, let's start at the beginning. The formal education system, i.e. schools, in many, if not most societies, are set up as a finite game. Think about it. One is top of the class, or they're not. One graduates, or does not. A student scores more or less in an exam than the other. In the graduation situation, it is widely accepted that those who do are commonly regarded as winning over those that dropped out or failed. Now, taking this one step forwards, let's consider the interview process, as this often adheres to the finite game thinking. If the interview doesn't go well and you receive a rejection, it is easy to blame oneself, or more likely think that we have lost compared to the other candidates that do get the job. Now, in this case, we still think in terms of winners and losers and believe that the best candidate wins. Now, approaching this from an infinite game perspective, a rejection isn't so much a win or loss, it's just a step towards a positive outcome. It's just a suggestion for an area of improvement. As long as one stays in the game and continues to interview, they have the possibility of winning. But either we forget this or lose sight of it in the midst of the frustration at the rejection of said interview. Now, seeing one's career as an infinite game is much more powerful in many, many ways. From my view, this is the single most important thing because it encourages continuous learning and growth. So let's consider a couple of examples. In a finite game, if I got into a prestigious management school, can I just consider that I've won? In a finite game, if one is aiming to secure a job at, say, Google, once we do it, then what? In a finite game, if one seeks a promotion, once they get it, then what happens? Because the finite game frames the outcome or the end goal as either having won or lost, and that the game terminates, people often neglect to think deeply about what to do afterwards. Taking this forward again, careers are also not linear. They don't simply go from A to B in a straight line. Well, not for most of us. Which is exactly what the term squiggly career describes. So this is a good point to suggest reading Squiggly Careers by Helen Tupper and Sarah Ellis. This is an excellent book and talks about how the traditional career route is being shunned in favour of a more squiggly route. I believe this squiggly route is due to the playing by the infinite game rules. Now, I'll put a link in the description below for a link to the book. It's highly recommended reading. And that's quite simply how we grow our careers. Every setback is an opportunity to learn. Every opportunity gives a chance to experience, and every experience gives a chance to succeed in whatever it is you're working towards. So how should we play the infinite game at work? If we believe that the infinite game gives us the best view of life, the next question is, how do we apply this at work? Let's take a sales job or a consulting role for an example. How do we play the infinite game in a competitive environment? The answer, surprisingly, is not to compete. Now this sounds strange, but bear with me for a moment. The idea is to become a better salesperson, not by beating a coworker, for example, but by actually learning from them. Rather focus on consistency and try not to worry about short-term wins. Now I know this is easier said than done, I accept, but the aim is to only compete with yourself whilst learning from others. It's only natural to feel angry when a coworker gets promoted and you don't. But the logic behind this feeling is absurd. You're getting mad at someone else's good fortune. And why? It's easier to point out why somebody else doesn't deserve something than it is to identify, examine and improve upon your own weaknesses. Take the stoic individual Ryan Holiday, where he said recently he doesn't use his cell phone in the morning. His approach? So I got to it an hour later. He said, who cares? And that is the point. Removing unnecessary urgency promotes stillness in your life. It's the same result you can achieve by adopting the infinite game mindset in your career. So you didn't get promoted this year. Who cares? You're not a loser. You're not a failure. You're playing an infinite game. The finish line of the promotion is just arbitrary. If you focus solely on getting better, the promotion will come. I strongly believe this because if you learn and grow and become the best you can be, the money and success will follow. Ultimately, your career will be better off for your consistent improvement. Playing the infinite game is also about realizing that all of your strengths have liabilities and all of our weaknesses have opportunities. This was originally said by Simon Sinek. The self-confidence that helped you get promoted might hurt you later when it appears as arrogance. The poor subject matter expertise preventing your promotion might lead you to take a look at the situation and build the skills that you lack. When you're playing the infinite game, it's easier to see these facts more clearly. Now, in summary, I don't believe everyone is aware of the game they are playing. This makes it more complicated as there are many players doing many things, each by their own rules. But a bit like seeing The Matrix for the first time, once you understand there are two forms, we can grow as people and increase the chances of success. But be under no illusion, though, because organisations can easily veer off course and switch their focus from infinite to finite pursuits very, very quickly. This is often due to the wanting of short-term rewards. It is an immediate sugar rush which detracts from the original course set, and quite simply, it takes courageous leadership to play an infinite game. To do this well, leaders will need the support of great teams who share the responsibility and beliefs. Ultimately, the infinite game is a team play. From a career perspective, careers don't really have a win or loss result. Bad situations are temporary with infinite thinking, but career ending with finite game thinking. And that's it. I would love to hear what you think about your career and how it relates to playing an infinite game. Please do let me know in the comments below. But do you want to know which skills I think will accelerate your career? Well, then check out this video here where I'll talk about the 11 soft skills that are the most important. But with that, have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.